Warning: the following story contains descriptions of graphic violence. Viewer discretion is advised. The year is 1958. A nation still basking in post-war optimism was suddenly gripped by an unimaginable terror. From the cornfields of Nebraska to the plains of Wyoming, a name echoed in whispers and screams: Charles Starkweather. But this wasn't just another criminal. This was a young man who, alongside his teenage girlfriend, Caril Ann Fugate, embarked on a killing spree that defied comprehension, claiming 11 lives in a matter of days. How did a troubled carpenter's son transform into a cold-blooded killer? Was it a product of a broken home, a nihilistic worldview, or something far more sinister? Join us as we unravel the dark descent of Charles Starkweather, a spree killer who forced America to confront the unsettling shadows lurking within its own communities. This is the case of Charles Starkweather. Starkweather was born in Lincoln, Nebraska, the fourth of 7 children of Guy and Helen Arnold Starkweather. The Starkweathers were a working-class family. Starkweather's father was a carpenter who was often unemployed due to rheumatoid arthritis in his hands. Helen worked as a waitress to supplement the family's income. Guy Starkweather admitted at Charles' trial to having pushed his son into a window. Later, his wife would divorce him on the grounds of extreme cruelty. The family was downwardly mobile. Starkweather's great-great-grandfather, George Anton Starkweather, was a member of the United States House of Representatives from New York's 21st District from 1847 to 1849. Starkweather attended Saratoga Elementary School, Irving Junior High School, and Lincoln High School. In contrast to his family's life, Starkweather later recalled nothing positive of his time at school. He was born with a genu varum, a mild birth defect that causes his legs to be misshapen, and claimed he was teased by classmates because he had a speech impediment. His elementary school teacher did not recall him being teased. As he grew older and stronger, the only subject in which Starkweather excelled was physical education, where he found an outlet for his rage against those who bullied him. Starkweather then began to bully those who had once picked on him. Eventually, he felt rage against anyone he disliked. Arthur Ginger Strand argues that his writings from prison suggest a strong element of class envy and bitterness. Starkweather went from being one of the most well-behaved teenagers in the community to one of the most troubled. His high school friend Bob Von Bush would later recall he could be the kindest person you've ever seen. He'd do anything for you if he liked you. He was a hell of a lot of fun to be around, too. Everything was just one big joke to him, but he had his other side. He could be mean as hell, cruel, if he saw some poor guy on the street who was bigger than he was, better looking, or better dressed. He'd try to take the poor bastard down to his size. By the time Starkweather dropped out of school, his parents and family were reportedly afraid of him due to his violent outbursts. In 1956, at 18, Starkweather was introduced to a 13-year-old Caril Ann Fugate. Starkweather dropped out of high school in his senior year and took a job at a newspaper warehouse because it was near Fugate's school. He began to visit her every day after school. Starkweather taught Fugate how to drive, and one day she crashed the car belonging to Starkweather's father, who banished Starkweather from the family home. Starkweather quit his warehouse job and became a garbage collector. Starkweather began developing a nihilistic worldview, believing that his current situation was the final determinant of how he would live the rest of his life, while striving only to satisfy his biological needs to acquire power. He began plotting bank robberies and settled on personal philosophy, quote, "Dead people are all on the same level," unquote. Late on November 30th, 1957, Starkweather became angry at Robert Colvert, a service station attendant in Lincoln, for refusing to sell him a stuffed animal on credit. He returned several times during the night to purchase small items, until finally brandishing a shotgun. He forced Colvert to give him $100 from the till. He then abducted and drove Colvert to a remote area where they struggled over the gun, injuring Colvert before Starkweather killed him with several shots to the head. On January 21st, 1958, Starkweather went to Fugate's home. Fugate's mother and stepfather, Velda and Marion Bartlett, told him to stay away. He fatally shot them, then clubbed to death their 2-year-old daughter, Betty Jean. He hid the bodies in an outhouse and a chicken coop behind the house. Starkweather later said that Caril was there the entire time, but she said that when she arrived home, Starkweather met her with a gun and said that her family was being held hostage. She said Starkweather told her that if she cooperated with him, her family would be safe. Otherwise, they would be killed. A note reading, quote, "Everybody is sick with the flu," unquote, was placed in the family home's window. The pair remained in the house until shortly before the police, alerted by Fugate's suspicious grandmother, arrived on January 27th. When the police broke in, they found no one there, and the house in apparent order. A few days later, Charles's brother Rodney and his friend Bob Vaughn Bush searched the house and premises, finding the stashed bodies. The police issued a warrant to pick up both Starkweather and Fugate. Starkweather and Fugate drove to the farmhouse of 70-year-old August Mayer, one of his family's friends who lived in Bennett, Nebraska. Starkweather killed him with a shotgun blast to the head. He also killed Mayer's dog. Fleeing the area, the pair drove their car into mud and abandoned it. When Robert Jensen and Caril King, two local teenagers, stopped to give them a ride, Starkweather forced them to drive back to an abandoned storm cellar in Bennett. He shot Jensen in the back of the head. He attempted to rape King, but King put up too much resistance for him to do so. He became angry with her and fatally shot her as well. Starkweather later admitted shooting Jensen, but claimed that Fugate shot King. Fugate said she had stayed in the car the entire time. The two fled Bennett in Jensen's car. Starkweather and Fugate drove to a wealthy section of Lincoln, where they entered the home of industrialist Chester Lohr Ward and his wife Clara. Starkweather stabbed their maid, Ludmilla Lillian Finchel, to death, and then waited for Laura and Clara to return home. Starkweather killed the family dog by breaking its neck to keep it from alerting the Wards. Clara arrived first alone and was also stabbed to death. Starkweather later admitted to having thrown a knife at Clara, but insisted that Fugate had stabbed her numerous times, killing her. When Lohr Ward returned home that evening, Starkweather shot and killed him. While Starkweather and Fugate were in the house, the Ward's newspapers arrived and they cut out the front page pictures of themselves and Fugate's dead family. These pictures were found on them later, casting doubt on Caril's claim that she didn't know her family was dead. Starkweather and Fugate filled Ward's black 1956 Packard with stolen jewelry from the house and fled Nebraska. The murders of the Wards and Fensel caused an uproar with Lancaster County. The flames of public fear were fanned by the era's ongoing panic about juvenile delinquency. Law enforcement agencies in the region sent their officers on a house-to-house search for the perpetrators. Governor Victor Emanuel Anderson contacted the Nebraska National Guard, and the Lincoln Chief of Police called for a block-by-block search of that city. After several sightings of Starkweather and Fugate were reported, the Lincoln police was accused of incompetence for being unable to capture the pair. Vigilante gangs were formed, and local Sheriff Merle Carnop started forming a posse by arming men he found in bars. Needing a new car because of Ward's Packard having been identified, the couple came upon traveling salesman Merle Collison sleeping in his Buick along the highway outside Douglas, Wyoming. After Collison was awakened, he was fatally shot. Starkweather later accused Fugate of performing the coup de grace after his shotgun jammed. Starkweather claimed Fugate was the most trigger-happy person he had ever met. Fugate denied ever having killed anyone. The salesman's car had a parking brake, which was something new to Starkweather. While he attempted to drive away, the car stalled because the brake had not been released. He tried to restart the engine, and a passing motorist geologist, Joe Sprinkle, stopped to help. Starkweather threatened him with a rifle, and an altercation ensued. At that moment, Natrona County Sheriff's Deputy William Romer arrived on the scene. Fugate ran to him, yelling something to the effect of, "It's Starkweather, he's going to kill me." Starkweather drove off and was involved in a car chase with 3 officers, Romer, Douglas Police Chief Robert Ainsley, and Converse County Sheriff Earl Heflin, exceeding speeds of 100 miles per hour. A bullet fired by Heflin shattered the windshield, and flying glass cut Starkweather deep enough to cause bleeding. He stopped, surrendered, and was taken into custody near Douglas on January 29, 1958. Heflin said, quote, "He thought he was bleeding to death. That's why he stopped. That's the kind of yellow son of a bitch he is," unquote. Starkweather chose to be extradited from Wyoming to Nebraska. He and Fugate arrived there in late January 1958. He believed that either state would have executed him. He was not aware, however, that Millward Simpson, Wyoming's governor at the time, opposed the death penalty. Starkweather first said that he had kidnapped Fugate and that she had nothing to do with the murders. However, he changed his story several times. He testified against her at her trial, saying that she was a willing participant. Fugate has always maintained that Starkweather was holding her hostage by threatening to kill her family, claiming she was unaware that they were already dead. Judge Harry A. Spencer did not believe Fugate was held hostage by Starkweather, as he determined she had had numerous opportunities to escape. When Starkweather was first taken into Nebraska Penitentiary after his trial, he said that he believed that he was supposed to die. He said that if he was to be executed, then Fugate should be also. Starkweather was convicted after the jury deliberated for only 22 hours for the murder of Jensen, the only murder for which he was tried. On May 23, 1958, he was sentenced to death, and Starkweather was executed in the electric chair at the Nebraska State Penitentiary in Lincoln at 12:04 a.m. on June 25, 1959. Half an hour before the execution, the doctor who was supposed to pronounce Starkweather dead, B.A. Finkel, himself suffered a fatal heart attack. Starkweather gave no last words, but in a letter from prison to his parents wrote, quote, "But Dad, I'm not real sorry for what I did, 'cause for the first time, me and Caril have more fun." Unquote. He was reportedly indifferent about his impending death and had become resigned to his fate. Following the execution, Starkweather was buried in Wyuka Cemetery in Lincoln, as are 5 of his victims, including the wards. Fugate was convicted as an accomplice and received a life sentence on November 21, 1958. She was paroled in June 1976 after serving 17 and a half years at the Nebraska Correctional Center for Women in York, Nebraska. She settled in Hillsdale, Michigan. In the end, Charles Starkweather's reign of terror was brief, but its impact was devastating and far-reaching. From the helpless 2-year-old Betty Jean Bartlett, clubbed to death in her own home, to the traveling salesman Merle Collison, shot in his car. Each victim represented a life brutally cut short, a family shattered, a community left in fear. Starkweather's chilling indifference in his final letter, stating that he and Caril had more fun, serves as a final disturbing testament to his lack of remorse. While Caril Ann Fugate gained her freedom decades later, the question of her true involvement continues to spark debate. The story of Charles Starkweather is not just a tale of violence, but a stark reminder of the profound and often incomprehensible cost of unchecked rage. If you're drawn to understanding the complex facets of human behavior and the historical impact of crime, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Share your thoughts on this case in the comments below. We'll be back soon with another exploration into the darker corners of our past. Until next time, stay safe and stay vigilant.